Part 1. Question 1. You turn on the TV and hear this introduction. You are watching A. A political interview, B. A quiz show, C. A travel program.
And the next contestant is Julia Milroy from Surbiton in Surrey. She's 32 years old and a secretary in a local company. She's married to John and has 2 lovely children. And tonight, Julia gets the chance to answer questions to win our star prize. And this week, our star prize is a holiday for 2 in Hawaii.
Question 2. You overhear this telephone conversation. Someone is trying to buy A. A railway ticket, B. An airline ticket, C. A bus ticket.
How can I help you? A ticket? Certainly, sir. Where to? Strand Park? Oh, I don't think there's a railway station there. Let me just check. No, I'm sorry. The nearest station is Bristol Parkway. Yes, there's a connecting bus service which runs every hour. Just ask the porter or the ticket collector and they'll tell you where to go. A second-class ticket to Bristol Parkway, then. That'll be £18. How would you like to pay?
Question 3. A friend reads the report of a football match from the newspaper. The match was won by A. Barnsley, B. Oxford, C. Ampleford.
Sighs of relief could be heard among the shrieks of triumph as Ambleford made heavy weather of their match against Barnsley, Oxford's conquerors in the first round. Barnsley may be facing a battle against relegation from the Diadora League Premier Division, but what they lacked in ability, they more than made up for in combative spirit and sheer hard work. They created a number of scares before Ambleford's class finally showed. After an even first half, it was less than 2 minutes into the second half when defender Richard Sherry needlessly conceded a corner. Kevin Keith headed in from the kick to take Ambleford into the next round.
Question 4. You are listening to a description of a procession on the radio. It is going to A. A coronation, B. A funeral, C. A wedding.
And now the procession moves in front of us, slowly and solemnly. The Honour Guard marches in front with representatives of the 3 services, the Navy first as the senior service, the Army, and last the most recent of the services, the Air Force. Immediately behind them comes the cortege. The crowd stands silent, with their heads bowed. Now the Queen's carriage follows behind at the head of the line of mourners from many different nations. There we can see the President of France, splendid in his uniform, and next to him, the King of Norway, sombre in black, with his top hat in his hand.
Question 5. You hear the following on a news bulletin. The couple, Arthur and Frederica Moore, are consulting lawyers about A. A wedding, B. A wedding anniversary party, C. Ending their marriage.
Arthur Moore and his wife Frederica admitted last night that they had consulted solicitors about their marriage. The couple have been married for 25 years and have just celebrated their silver wedding anniversary with a huge celebrity party. A statement confirmed that the couple are leading separate lives. The statement added that their matrimonial affairs were under discussion and requested the media to allow the couple to get on with their lives in privacy. The statement came as the 58-year-old actor dismissed media speculation on a reconciliation and told a German paper of his deep attachment for 39-year-old divorcee Rachel Morley.
Question 6. You hear an interview with Mary Steerforth, who has just been given a film part. She is A. Impatient, B. Happy, C. Nervous.
Mary, You've just been named to play the leading female role of Scarlett in the film sequel to Gone with the Wind. How do you feel about it? You must feel very excited, but perhaps a little nervous too? It's your first major film role, after all.
Most of all, I'm thrilled. It's like Christmas and birthday and New Year's Eve all rolled into one. It's a huge challenge for me, and you're right, it's a big step. But I'm not intimidated, and I'm not going over the top about it. It's something I'm really looking forward to. I really can't wait to get started.
Question 7. You hear two men talking about a car. The second man is A. hiring the car, B. buying the car, C. borrowing the car.
Ford Escort, that do you?
Fine.
Now, I need to see your license.
Yes. Here you are.
Thanks. OK, that seems to be all in order. Now, it'll be £24 a day with this car for up to a week, plus petrol costs, of course.
Of course. What about insurance?
It may be covered by your own policy, but we recommend that you take out a temporary cover with our scheme. It's only £10 extra.
Fine.
Just sign on the dotted line then, please.
Question 8. What is the relationship between the man and the woman? A. She is his secretary. B. He is her business partner. C. He is her boss.
Joan, great to see you again.
Hello, Mr. Burke. Nice to see you too.
Sit down, sit down. Call me Jim. Let me get you a drink. It's gin, isn't it?
Vodka and tonic, if I may, please.
Waitress, vodka and tonic, please. Make that 2 vodka and tonics. Now, I've got a proposal to put to you that I think you're going to like.
A proposal, Jim?
Yes. You know we're opening a new office in Frankfurt? Well, Joan, I'm asking you to head the whole operation. Will you do it?
Head the operation? So I have a free hand, Mr. Burke. I mean, Jim.
Yes, naturally, Joan. A free hand, and you name your own salary.
That's the end of part 1.
Among the many problems which our society faces today, that of the homeless is one of the most tragic. Today we have with us in the studio Mrs. Mary Graham, director of a charitable organisation here in London, who can explain some of the problems involved and what can be done about them. Mrs. Graham, what sort of people are the homeless?
All kinds, really. People usually think of the homeless as scruffy and dirty, but that's not the case at all. Some people have no home because they couldn't afford to repay the bank loan, and their home was taken away from them. Others can't find a place to live without a job, and can't find a job without a permanent address. Then there are those who simply can't face the responsibility of running a home, paying the bills and keeping it clean.
Is there any such thing as homeless children?
Unfortunately, yes. You see, many landlords object to renting accommodation to families with children. To them, children are invariably noisy little devils who are just a cause of damage. If the parents can't afford a hotel or guest house, the children end up with them on the streets.
A lot of people say that the answer is just for the government to construct more accommodation. Is it as simple as that?
Well, certainly some form of government action is needed, but the present government prefers private ownership to state-controlled housing. It's true that a scarcity of available property causes higher rents and poor conditions, and I think the government should act to limit rents and enforce standards.
Finally, may I ask what your charity does to help the homeless?
Not as much as we'd like to, but of course our funds are limited by the contributions we receive, and not everyone can afford to be generous. We have some space at our headquarters for temporary stays, and we're out every night dishing out something warm and filling, especially in the winter.
That's the end of part 2. Speaker 1. I was born near Newport in Wales in 1939. I always wanted to become a dancer, even though my parents were against it, and growing up in the valleys at that time, it was thought to be very peculiar. Everyone else wanted to play rugby. The other boys I was at school with were always making fun of me. But that just made me all the more determined. At 16, I went to the Sadler's Wells Ballet School, and I became a soloist in 1965, dancing all the leading roles. Now I'm getting on, I do character parts like Widow Simone and Father Thomas. I've been made dancing master and regisseur. Speaker 2.
I was brought up in London, so after finishing school I went to Sadler's Wells to learn to dance. After training, I was lucky enough to be offered a position with the Royal Northern Ballet, where I stayed for 3 years. I felt very fortunate when Sadler's Wells invited me back as a soloist, but after a knee injury, I went to the Benish Institute and graduated from there as a choreographer. Sadler's Wells have been very kind to me by allowing me to stay on as a choreographer and dance notator. And I often work overseas as well. I've just come back from 3 months in San Francisco.
Speaker 3.
I come from Salamanca in Spain, and I began dancing at the age of 10. At 16, I won a prize, the Prix de Lausanne, and it was like a dream come true because I was given a scholarship to join the Royal Ballet School. I can't tell you what a thrill it was to see all the international stars and to train and dance with them. I've now joined Sadler's Wells, and I hope to stay with them and build a career. In 2 years, I can become a first artist, and then a soloist. But it is early days. Let's hope I don't get injured. I'd particularly like to be able to dance the Sugar Plum Fairy and the Nutcracker. That's my ambition.
Speaker 4.
I'm Italian, but I came to Sadler's Wells in 1983 after winning the Prix de Lausanne. In 1987 I became a soloist and principal dancer in 1988. I've danced pretty much everything that's standard. Swan Lake, The Sleeping Beauty, Romeo and Juliet. I really enjoyed creating the new roles like Paquita and the ballerina role in Theme and Variations. I've danced that all over the world. I've also enjoyed spells with the Royal Ballet and the Australian Ballet, and I won the Global Prize in 1988. I was voted Dancer of the Year in 1991.
Speaker 5.
I'm originally from Rhodesia, Zimbabwe as it is now. I originally trained in London and joined the Festival Ballet in 1959. I became principal dancer in 1963, and I danced all over the world with the biggest companies, Zurich Ballet, the National Ballet of Washington, and the Royal Ballet before joining Sadler's Wells in 1970. I've danced all the classic roles, and I guess Mer Park and Antoinette Sibley were my favourite partners. I've pretty much retired now as a dancer. I'm assistant director of the company, and I'm very busy as an administrator.
That's the end of part 3.
That was your fault, you know. How am I supposed to know you're going to change lanes if you don't give any indication? You should know you're supposed to flash well in advance.
Of course I indicated. I admit I'm a little behind this morning and I was trying to make up some lost time, but I never forget to signal.
Yes, that's right. I clearly saw her indicate.
Oh, I see. All you women stick together, eh? 2 against 1, so I must be wrong.
That's not it at all. You've no right to speak to me like that. I'm not on anybody's side.
Well, what happens now? I don't really know the procedure. You must accept that I did my best to warn you, and now someone else is backing me up.
I don't mind saying what I saw, but not if it means having to go to court. I mean, I'll write a letter to the insurance company and all that if you like, but that's it.
No one wants to go to court. Why don't we look at the damage and see if we can agree about what to do?
That's easy for you to say. How am I going to know how bad the damage is and how much it's going to cost? I haven't got a clue about that kind of thing. No, if you don't mind, I'm afraid I'll be contacting the proper authorities.
Just as you like. That's your privilege. But if only it'd be more reasonable, I'm sure we could settle all this here and now.
That's the end of part 4. That's the end of the test. Please stop now. Goodbye.